everybody, and welcome back to Boss Rush Spotlight Podcast, the developer and creator interview series by Boss Rush. I am your host, Stephanie Klimov, and today alongside me, I am lucky to once again have my co-pilot PK Power, Pat Klein.
Thank you for having me, Steph. I'm glad to always help you out with these things when I can.
Oh, we tend to have really great conversations, and just on the other side of things, I'm glad your week has kind of started off on a good note. So I feel like the air is lighter. Yeah.
For those in listener land, and of course to our guests, I actually had to go into the doctor to get something screened, and the test results came back and said it wasn't cancerous. So.
Whoa!
That's great.
Congratulations!
Always great news.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how my week started.
Cheers to that. So
Yeah, definitely.
And the voices that you are hearing that aren't Pat and myself are our excellent guests tonight. I am very excited. This team caught my eye when I was covering Day of the Devs for BossRush.net. We have the co-founders of Rocket Adrift, Sloan Smith, Lindsay Rollins, and Titus McNally. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah,
for having
thanks for having
me.
us. Yeah.
So, goodness, my mind is just whirling about all the things I'd like to ask you, but just to give a little background to the listeners, the way I curate our interviews, either I meet developers and publishers at an event like at PAX, or when I cover showcases, and we've had a slew of them: Wholesome Direct, Day of the Devs, Summer Game Fest, and your team, Rocket Adrift, featured your game that we'll be talking about, Psychroma, on Day of the Devs. And I don't want to get too ahead, but it was one of those standout games. A lot of the things that you guys talked about, because they gave you a little feature about how the game reflects maybe your personal experiences, just told through a different, lens or environment setting, really spoke to me. We can get into that later. So I'm just, like I said, I'm honored that you're willing to talk to us. The game Psychroma released June 11th. So I know you guys have been very busy up until now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was pretty hectic towards the last few months there. For sure.
Yeah, it was nice to just take a couple of weeks off afterwards and kind of get our lives back together.
That's the best
awesome.
Way to do it. Yeah.
Good. Well, before we talk shop, I always like to start off with little icebreaker gauntlet questions. Just answer what first comes to your mind. We'll go round robin. So what is your ideal form of caffeination to power through your game development? Coffee or tea or soda, and so on and so forth?
Tea, I think, for sure. I'm more of a tea person than coffee.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you usually drink caffeine.
I don't. We have a joke where I will drink chamomile tea and say, wow, that really gets me going.
You're my superhero. I love it.
Yeah. Mine is coffee. In the summer, I like cold brew, so I've been drinking a lot of cold brew coffee.
I have a tea in the morning and then Coke Zero with lunch. So that's my caffeination right there.
Zero, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Pat and I, we get into our Diet Cokes. I start off my day with a cup of coffee. Not to go on a side tangent, but I've discovered this because I like iced coffee. We joke it's a New Englander thing. I don't know if that's true or not. We love our iced coffee year round. Even if it's like -1 degree, we like our iced coffee. But it's hard to, I don't know, for me, it's hard to make my own iced coffee, and I don't want to constantly spend money. There's a brand called Cometier, I think, and they flash freeze concentrated coffee. And so it's like, it works like an instant coffee, but it actually tastes good. And the cups are made of aluminum, so you can recycle them, because I'm a nut like that. So
yeah.
What's it called again? Sorry? I'm interested.
Cometier. I don't know if I'm spelling it right, but I will find it and I'll just put it in our little Zencaster chat. I do recommend it. It's by a small company.
Cool.
Well,
So,
yeah. And I personally, I never could really get into the taste of coffee. So I really just did Diet Coke. That's my pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good one,
That's
but
in the chat.
it helps.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. When are you most productive? For example, morning bird, night owl.
I am a night owl, constantly trying to be a morning bird.
Aspiring morning bird.
I would like to be more productive during the day, and I try to, but it's like by like 5 o'clock, I'm like, I am full of ideas and ready to go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've used to be much more of an early bird, but lately, like, we usually start our day at like 12, 1, or like even 1 in the afternoon, and then go till like 6. So kind of like the middle of the day.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm a morning bird. I used to be a night owl, but yeah, I've just gotten into the morning routine and I love it. Wake up, do some studying, go to the gym, and then get ready for work. It's really nice. You can get a lot done. So really appreciate the consistency of the morning routine.
Yeah.
Nice.
I gotta say, go ahead, Pat.
All together, you guys fit the full spectrum.
Yeah.
You guys can tackle the morning, and then Lindsay can jump into the night or midday, and then Sloan will all be ready for the evening.
Yeah, we've got all hours of the day covered. You can't get past us.
Yeah.
Nice. This I think I'll combine so you can just pick either or both. Do you have a most overrated or underrated game?
Okay, so
there's some spicy takes.
I have some spicy takes. Definitely. So I am not a big fan of God of War 2018, I believe it was. And I know when I really wanted to like it, and when it came out, it was like everyone was raving about it.
It was getting all the
awards, and then I played it, and it just didn't do it for me. I played it all the way through, hoping that I would eventually kind of get into it, and I feel like it just was lacking that sense of adventure that I was hoping, and had quite like a little too much kind of menus to kind of put forward the cinematic nature of the rest of the game.
Right.
Too many RPG elements for my takes, for whatever, I guess, in that game. Yeah. Not a popular opinion, but
you know what? Oddly enough, our CEO has that same feeling about God of War, right, Pat?
Yeah, he wasn't impressed by it. He made sure to tell us that
many times. As for me, I did start it, and it just fell off. So I think action speaks louder than words there. And you know what? That's just proof that, hey, not everybody has to like the same game all the time, yet the internet seems to think otherwise.
Yeah.
So true.
I think mine would probably, my overrated is probably Death Stranding.
No.
Because, well, like, I liked the mechanics of it. I liked being able to deliver packages and like do all these side quests and stuff, and just kind of like take in the like environment design and stuff. But like as soon as combat came in, I was like, ugh, it loses me. And then like especially when you have to talk to people, I just can't stand Hideo Kojima's style of writing. I'm like, oh my god, shut up. I'm like, why? Like, I don't know. The story just like loses me every time.
Fair enough.
Oh, I wanted to say my overrated. My underrated one. So it's not just negative.
Yeah.
There's a game called Mutation, which is a really, really nice
kind of chill,
narrative-driven adventure style game. Very chill. They call it a modern soap opera about being on a Italian island full of mutants and dealing with their kind of stories and all that stuff. The music is fantastic.
Yeah.
Just absolutely beautiful, and the art is really nice, and the story is like really well told. The main mechanic is you get like seeds for plants and you grow them, and they help the spiritual recovery of the island. I think it's been a while since I've played it.
That sounds really cool.
It was really great, and it's kind of, I think, a little underrated and under appreciated. It doesn't have as many people, not as many people know about it as I feel like they
yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What was this game called again?
Mutation.
Yeah.
Mutation.
Yeah.
Can
Pat, look it up, and then we're gonna go play it.
You're just gonna guess at the spelling there.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't guess the spelling.
It's like
Sorry, we'll
very.
utilize our phonics skills. We'll figure it out.
And my underrated game was probably Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood.
Cosmic Wheels is
Yeah,
That's on my to play list.
yeah, I really liked it. It was really in depth, and I really love like any game where you get to
Mhm.
design something like in the game because you get to design the tarot cards. I'm like so into it, and it was I love tarot too. And witchcraft stuff, so it's like a shoe in for me.
And the art design or the style I personally really liked. I follow Devolver, so I know they were promoting it. It's just unfortunately, once it came out, I didn't see too much
No,
talked
exactly.
about it afterwards. So hence, yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my spicy take is that I kind of go against the narrative that like they made No Man's Sky good. Like
Yeah,
I still
hear
don't
that
think
a
it's
lot.
good. So that's my and I guess
Alright.
for underrated game, it's hard to come up with. I think the game that I was most like impressed with and surprised by lately was the RoboCop game. I ended up
Mm.
picking that one up on the Steam
Yeah.
sale, and like the ads make it look like you're just shooting guys all the time, and you do shoot guys, but there's like this other part to it that's kind of like a walking sim almost, where you go around talking to people and solving crimes, and I found that like just really immersive and fun.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's by the people that made like the Rambo game that was awful. So I was really surprised that yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just kind of no one heard about it. Just kind of.
it just kind of came out.
Oh, I saw the
Yeah.
ads for it, but I didn't think to check it out.
No.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah,
No, I've heard things about the Rambo game. Like, I know what you're talking about, like doing like administrative work in the police department during the
Yeah.
day, and then at night go out and just shoot all the bad guys up. Kind of polar opposites, and I'd be very interested in trying that.
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
Right. Do you guys have a favorite gaming snack?
That's a good question.
We like when we snack at all, it's usually like
Like Triscuits.
Triscuits and hummus,
Triscuits and hummus. I think.
or popcorn. I just like that chicken
Yeah.
brand popcorn. I always go for that one.
What's the specific Triscuit brand that we really like? Jalapeno.
It's the zesty jalapeno, with a hint of cheddar.
Yeah.
It is the best Triscuit flavor ever, and
It's
it's
always
so
selling
hard
out.
to get, like because it keeps selling out. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Ooh, good taste. Good choice right there.
I love popcorn.
Yeah.
I actually have an ear popper too, so I can kind of
Mm.
do what I want with it. They still
Awesome.
sell those, and it's really so. I think popcorn, like a lot of things, are really greasy and grease up your controllers. So,
Yeah.
you gotta
Exactly.
That.
be careful.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You don't want
Or
those
if
fingers.
yeah,
yeah, or if like if you have Doritos or Cheetos, you get the cheese dust. Yuck.
Hell, yeah. Then you know what's the worst for that is smart food.
Oh, smart
yeah.
food gets really
Gets
dusty
everywhere.
Yeah.
I got to go with peanut butter M&Ms. At least they got that candy shell to not make your fingers too messy.
that's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
I do love an M&M.
I think my next gaming snack is going to be Boom Chicka Pop with some M&Ms and put it.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
that's
Yeah.
I
good,
do
yeah.
love it when it like melts a little when it's like the popcorn's still hot too.
So good.
Now I'm hungry. But see, that's my curse is I love food. I love talking about food, but then when I do, I get hungry. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
all right. Last but not least, speaking of like hot takes and stuff, the most important but silliest question of them all: who is the superior Mario brother?
Okay, so for me, I have to go Luigi because I'm the younger sibling of my older brother would always choose Mario
right.
when we were playing, and so I always chose Luigi. So yeah,
Mhm.
gotta be Luigi.
I don't know. I don't really think about it either way, but if I were to choose, I'd say Luigi as well. Just because, like, I don't know, Mario is just kind of
Also, he's Haunted Mansion. That's
mansion,
closer to
yeah,
our
Haunted
thing.
Mansion.
Scary
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Man, I guess it's a Luigi sweep here.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I also think Luigi is more interesting because in the second one for NES, he had like this weird jump where he would like
Mm-hmm.
put up his feet and he could get a little higher and kind of and had a little bit more glide to his jump. And also,
Yes.
yeah, because he's a coward and that's a little more relatable
Yeah.
than Mario, who is just kind of
Brazenly walks into
yeah,
everything.
he's a hero and we love him, but yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate
Yeah.
Luigi for that reason.
Mario
something
was
to be-
remarkably average, and Luigi had the jump.
Mhm.
Princess could
Yes.
hold up that float, and then Toad was like super strong and could just like pull vegetables like within a half second.
Yeah, but if the princess was on the list, I'd pick her because that
Yeah,
flow was
for
OP.
sure.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also and just to throw in one more reason why I'm Team Luigi is I like to be I don't know, not contrarian because that probably has a negative connotation to it, but whatever tends to be like the
Mhm.
main star or the popular thing, I'm like, I'm gonna pick the opposite. So like even though Mario's like the main star, I'm like, go Luigi, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
kind of
On
the
over
same
there.
here.
Yeah.
Love
It's
that
also
underdog.
interesting, like he's living in the shadow of his way more popular brother.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there?
He's also got the
Exactly.
more interesting wah. Waluigi.
Waluigi, yeah,
Is
true.
more interesting than the
Wario.
Wario.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
That guy's
with that rose. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I hope you found that a little bit fun. But now let's kind of talk about what you guys do and your your game, right? So just to kind of recap and summarize everything. So Psychroma was featured during the Summer Day of the Devs showcase this year and released on Steam on June 11th. So we're a little over a month. It currently sits at very positive with your reviews on Steam. So what is Psychroma? I just took this little summary snippet. Psychroma is a narrative-driven side scroller where you play as a digital medium, confront the past by piecing together the broken memories of a cybernetic house and exorcise ghosts in the machine. Which, man, words can only do it so much justice. I was rewatching the trailer again today, and I just get goosebumps. Where I failed, though, and forgive me, is that was a game I did want to play before meeting with you guys. I know it's not an excuse. Pat's heard it, but I got knocked off my feet for almost 2 weeks with COVID. So,
Sorry.
No, that's an excuse. That's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Yeah, COVID
No,
is
yeah, I
is a
understand.
bastard of a disease.
Yeah.
right? Because like if I just had a stuffy nose and a cough, I can stay in bed and game. But the brain fog was so bad, like I couldn't play anything because I didn't even know what was up or down. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
but yeah, just I guess I want to start with like how have things been since release? Just confirm for me, was that your first game? Was that your debut game?
Oh no.
No,
No,
we've
okay.
actually made two other games.
Yeah.
One was
Order a Pizza,
a visual
visual
novel. Kind of a
Okay.
Okay.
we made for a game jam called
NaNoRenO.
NaNoRenO,
That was in
yeah.
2019 for the month of March.
Okay.
I had to like make a visual novel within that time frame. So
You're
that's what that was for.
Wait, is it kind of like NaNoWriMo in November for people who write? Because I
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, except it's a
Except
visual
a
novel.
visual novel
Yeah.
game, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like a
Awesome.
divorced dad that's got his new girlfriend and his daughter over at the same time, and you have to order the perfect pizza that
To
everyone's
smooth over the
gonna
situation.
to smooth over the awkward situation.
It gets kind of psychedelic.
It gets
Yeah.
pretty weird from there.
So that was a really good way for us to figure out the process of just making a game, putting it out there, getting feedback and all that stuff. And then we made Raptor Boyfriend High School Music.
A high school
Romance. I always accidentally say a High School Musical. I'm sorry, a High School Romance.
Mhm.
Which
Another
is
visual novel.
Another visual novel, a dating sim.
it was a commercial release that
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
and that
put
one
out. Yeah,
we released on Steam.
2020.
and
Yeah.
all consoles.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true, on
Yeah.
all consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it was, and then we went a wildly different direction with
Yeah.
Psychroma.
We
Horror.
took the black
So would
pill.
you say like Psychroma, the direction that you went with Psychroma is kind of more your ultimate passion project, like the type of game or theme that you enjoy?
I think so. I think we kind of realize when you're making such a a commitment to a project like you do with a video game, it has to sustain itself beyond kind of the goofy
And the
ideas
initial-
that we had
yeah.
with like Raptor Boyfriend. Not to
Yeah.
say that that game doesn't have heart to it, because it does, but I think we were all kind of, by the end of making that game, we felt like, okay, and for the next one, we've got to make sure that there's a really strong foundation of things that we are interested to talk about and a world that we're interested in exploring, so that can kind of keep us going through a long development process.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, while we were working on Raptor Boyfriend, at least for me personally, there was just so much dark stuff going on in the world.
Mhm.
And I guess artistically, I really wanted to be able to channel that in some way.
Mhm.
And, I think that a horror was just getting more and more appealing. And as to whether this is the ultimate, to answer your question, it's hard to say, but I will say, like, we've been talking about what the next project we're going to be working on, and it's definitely in the same vein
Mhm.
and tone as Psychroma,
Yeah,
as opposed to our earlier work.
We
for
found we
sure.
really liked writing for the horror genre.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, before we kind of dive more into that, I just kind of maybe want to get a bit more background about your history yourselves. I believe I was told that you guys came together initially as non-game makers, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how did that happen? How did you guys blossom into coming together and making those visual novel games and then Psychroma? Like,
Mhm.
how'd that all happen?
So we all started in the same arts or illustration program at Seneca University, or college rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we weren't like, we got through. It was like accelerated program, so it was only like 2 years instead of the full 4. And we ended up kind of like out in the world without much like guidance on how to use our skills in illustration. It turns out that industry was changing in a way that we weren't really prepared for. So we struggled to get like jobs and in our field basically. But then we started collaborating creatively together like a year after school, and it started as a podcast that Sloan pitched to us, and we just stuck with it. And then that we graduated to YouTube videos. At one point, Titus had his own animated shorts that he was putting up, and we had our own podcast. And we thought, well, why don't we just like combine the two? And so we started a YouTube channel together called Rocket Adrift Cartoons. And then we started making animated series on YouTube. But we burnt out from that pretty quickly because there was not that much return on the amount of effort we were putting in. And we needed to like pivot to something that we basically like a place where we can like sell our idea or sell a product, but still be utilizing like all these skills that we've learned, the animation and the illustration and the design.
Yeah.
So the only thing that was missing was the coding and the programming, and we thought, well, we could teach ourselves that,
Which we
with
have, to be
visual
fair.
novels.
Yeah.
And we learned.
Well, Titus has.
Titus is basically like the mentor type when it comes to like programming and learning new engines and new languages.
I was sort of pitching the idea of like maybe we could do a game a couple of times and got turned down, but then I think we burnt out really hard and everyone was receptive to the idea and they were like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And okay, well, we got to figure it out then. So we started getting into it and
we learned
making games.
RenPy first, and then we learned Unity for Psychroma.
There was a bit of Game Maker in between.
Game Maker in between.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's really respectable for you guys to kind of teach yourselves all that the game development. Like it just blows my mind. Did you feel like it was, I don't want to call it an easy transition, but do you feel like picking visual novels was probably like the easiest genre to at least work your way into the gaming space.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to make a visual novel. I will
Yeah.
say it was a lot more
Yep.
difficult than we
Mm.
anticipated for sure. But it was definitely a stepping stone into doing more elaborate games
Design.
and design
Yeah.
for games for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
That was what.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
no, and just like I don't want to make it sound like I'm demeaning visual novels at all here because
Oh,
you
no.
know people that make them, it's a lot of work.
It's
but-
challenging in a different way, in
Yeah.
like a writing
Yeah.
way, where you
Mhm.
have to, all the writing is compelling.
It's
because
nothing-
It's basically reading.
Yeah, it's nothing
Yeah.
but writing.
Yeah.
You know, there's no time to just like make a mechanic and have
And
the
have it be
players
fun.
interact with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah, and that was what you originally pitched for us, was we should
Mhm.
make a visual novel because it utilizes our main skills.
Skills.
Our
Yeah.
skills are
Animation,
animation,
character
illustration,
design. Yeah.
and writing. And
Right,
so we were
yeah.
like, well, those, it takes, that it highlights those, and the
Mhm.
programming is a little bit easier because of
Mhm.
certain
The
engines that
language. Yeah.
you can choose. And so we're like, okay, that makes sense. And I think it did work out that
Yeah.
way.
yeah, for sure. There's also just this thing of like, you know, you go to school and you learn how to draw and that's exciting. You make a character, but then you learn how animation works and that
Mhm.
character can move. And then that's like, oh, I never want to come back from this.
Mhm.
And then the next step is having some input that then
Mhm.
controls the character moving. And so it's just been this kind of process of moving towards something more and more exciting, I
Mhm.
think, you
Yeah.
know, so.
So with Psychroma being your third game, how would you say the evolution, like from when you first started trying to make video games to Psychroma, like went? Like, was there any focuses in like, okay, now that we got this first game down, we want to try to implement this, this, and that in our second game, and then the same with Psychroma?
For sure. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It was a
Like,
weird process between like Psychroma and Order Pizza because, or no, Order Pizza and Raptor Boyfriend, because we initially wanted to make Raptor Boyfriend first, but we didn't really have an idea of how to do it. And so when we made Order Pizza, like 3 months into development on Raptor Boyfriend, we had a better idea of like how to make that work. So the Order Pizza was like a learning curve, basically. It was like
bit
a
of a, like-
training game for us.
Yeah, a bit of like a
Yeah.
test to see, like, you know, if we could do this, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think that after Raptor Boyfriend, one of our, like, the evolution for us was, okay, can we have a game where the player has more input
Yeah.
in some ways? And
It's a completely
Can
different
you-
genre. It's a side scroll.
Yeah, like, I think it was like, how do we tell a story in it with a different, a different kind of lens?
Yeah.
Having the
framing device.
player be able to explore at kind of will,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, you mentioned side scroller. It's got some really fantastic pixel art and color and everything. And there's a lot of creepy elements when you're in this like cybernetic house. You have to exorcise ghosts. But well, that premise is cool in itself. But what caught my attention was kind of the underlying identities and perspectives in there. So just to share, like for me, I am biracial. I am, half like, Irish Greek, and I'm also half Chinese. I've had a lot of struggles culturally being accepted by either. I'm also bisexual, which has been a problem with me fitting into certain groups. So I jokingly call myself a halvesy, which really it's my self-deprecating humor, but it's kind of sad, like crying clown, or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
so anyway, I heard you guys speak about Psychroma and the identities, the characters that are in there, the representation. So I know the answer is that it is important, but I would love for you to elaborate on the importance of identity in Psychroma.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I think like it's we were talking about it today, how when you're writing, themes will kind of like show up in the writing without you really expecting it. And we were always trying to go for something that explored kind of themes of personal like growth and all those kinds of things. And then, but I think once we started to find like mechanics where you become another person, like, and explore their past histories, how those memories have shaped them, how those memories kind of affect
The
who
present.
the present, and then also we wanted to dive deeper into the concept of, this kind of a trope in video games these days. It's almost a trope, is like waking up and not knowing who you are, the amnesia trope, I guess.
Hmm.
And I wanted to go deeper into that and figure out, like, how would that mess with your identity? Part of who you are is all these things you remember. And so I thought, so yeah, I think it's very important for those aspects, as well as having characters represented. Like, um, our main character is non-binary and biracial, and we have two other trans characters in the game, and a lesbian couple. And one of the lesbian characters is also, uh, is in a wheelchair. So yeah, like, we just wanted to kind of have a variety of different, like, people that are experiencing the oppression of this cyberpunk kind of future, and how that affects them. And yeah, I feel like I started to ramble somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, it's basically just like what makes up your identity, your memories, your actions, or like something innate inside of you. That was like the basic
Right.
concept we wanted to explore through the themes of Psychroma. And I think Hayes, our like protagonist, really struggles with all of these things partly because they do feel like they're kind of a drifter. They live on the edges or fringes of society. They in their past, we learn about some trauma that they've suffered that kind of makes it hard for them to understand like who they are, where they came from, or how they identify with themselves too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, these struggles are pretty relatable to anyone. I think we all have identity struggles, and we all wonder, like, we all depend on this idea of who we are that's built up over with memory and past experiences, and it's kind of horrifying. At least we thought that was the thing that we were trying to project, is how horrifying it would be to have that taken away from you and to have to relive all of those, like, defining but tragic moments that made up your past, again, and again.
Yeah. And how, like, your identity, I think one of the core themes is how your identity is shaped by other people too.
Yeah.
And if you, like, if you, by trying to change a part of your identity, you can almost leave certain people behind or something.
Or how they can help you find out who you are. Like,
Yeah.
I think the relationship between Hayes and Fox is a great example of like finding someone who will be supportive in your journey of figuring out who you are and help you think about those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the kind of like sci-fi occult horror genre that you selected is a great way to tell that story, because sometimes if you tell it in a realistic setting, I don't know, it's just sometimes it's hard to land that, especially when you have an audiences of and all kinds. Here you kind of remove the, I don't know, how do I word this, Pat? It's just dealing with these struggles in real life is already hard, right?
Yeah.
For those that are in the community, those that are either disabled, neurodivergent, in LGBTQI, any sort of facet of society. But if we want to just explore the concept in a safe space, sometimes you just got to remove it, put it in a different world where all things end up being equal, so to speak, and we could just kind of explore. Right. That's kind of how I am kind of coming to understand it. Because just reading through the synopsis, I start to wonder myself, goodness, if I woke up and, kind of forgot who I was, how will I able to be get back to my identity? Would other people shape that for me or help me, discover who I am?
For sure.
Absolutely.
I also think the added horror elements to this discovering your identity, like, I can see how that amplifies the story, because it's a scary process trying to figure yourself out. And I can see some people maybe not comfortable with like trying to do that soul searching just on a normal like day-to-day like life basis, but maybe doing it while watching your horrors become manifest
Mhm.
through the themes of horror and the kind of creepy imagery that pops up while in the house. Like I can see that being more entertaining and helping that person drive through
Mhm.
identifying themselves, but through more of an entertaining manner.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
that's
Pat.
something we're kind of going for too.
Hmm.
Like I found that the horror genre in particular is a unique kind of genre in which you can really people are allowed to explore things that are a bit more taboo or scary in
Hmm.
like a safe place. Like you're
Hmm.
there to be thrilled, you're there to be terrified. And so
Hmm.
you're able to like push things in a way that people can gain more insights in that space, I find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, horror has a long history of telling a lot of queer narratives and stuff.
That
So
too. Yeah.
I think it felt right for us,
Hmm.
as well as the cyberpunk genre being
Hmm.
very much about what does it mean?
Transhumanism
Yeah,
and
what does
yeah.
it mean to be human?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
part of that, exploring that for us, was what does it mean to have an identity? What does it
Hmm.
mean? Yeah.
Especially during a time of or during like a dystopian or like you're being suppressed as well. So
Hmm.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's like another theme of the game, is just how do these
How do they survive?
people
Yeah.
survive
Not with
in
for each
this
other. Yeah.
dystopian world?
Yeah.
So what's the impact that you hope to have as a result of your games and the stories that you're telling? And have you heard any feedback of any impact that's been made?
Um, well, I guess, yeah. I really would love for people to feel seen from this game, to feel
Mhm.
like they've had a moment, one of those moments where you play a game and you're like, that's so me,
Mhm. Mhm.
that had like I have had a
We've seen some examples of in the one of the reviews. One of our um, very like close friends, I guess you could say, and online moderators. We like wrote a really lovely review on our Steam page about how they like recently have come out as non-binary and they felt very seen by
Hmm.
Hayes' struggles, and that was extremely rewarding for me to see.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
To be honest, yeah,
Nice.
there's been a couple of reviews that have just like people saying things that I just couldn't believe that
Mhm.
it's hard to like I feel like yeah, it's been beyond what I ever could have expected, even though, we're not a huge
Mhm.
publisher and our games aren't these huge hits that have touched a lot of people. Like
Mhm.
they've certainly seemed to have made an impact on a few people in really strong ways based on some emails that I've gotten
Mhm.
or from some of the reviews that have been left
Hmm.
on these games. So for me, it's just yeah, I feel like really really privileged to be able to be a part of making
Mhm.
something like that. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's great. Yeah, that's why I would definitely want to get the word out in this game because I feel like there's I'm sure endless ways to make impact, but two primary ways is to reach out and touch the lives of those that are still looking for more representation or a game or a medium to identify with. Because I know it seems silly and surface level, but I can't reiterate and repeat the fact that I was so excited to hear about a biracial character because I don't really
Mhm.
see many
No.
biracial characters. So like I felt like, oh my gosh, like that's that well not me, but like that's
Mhm.
me. I'm gonna go play it just for that. And I know that that's just surface level. I'm sure I will experience more there. And then also on the other hand, by it being just excellent storytelling and excellent gameplay for those that, they might not be directly in the community, by experiencing the game, they can get that perspective, open
Mhm.
their eyes, and maybe the person has always meant well, but maybe by learning of other people's stories that
Mhm.
they can reach out to someone that they know, or you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like there's two
Mhm.
really major ways that your games can make a difference.
I think that's the incredible power of games is that it's a storytelling medium that you are directly interacting with, and I think it's such a powerful tool to create empathy with people that it's barely just begun to tap into that. And like, I'm not saying we're doing something revolutionary here,
No.
but like,
Mm.
it's just really nice to be seeing sort of the rise of games that are dealing with more than the sort of typical game loop and touching on subjects like that and showing different perspectives, you know.
I just thought of another example of that kind of reaction of seeing some impact as we were watching a stream where of people playing our game, and they saw that one of the characters who's older, an older woman, she's talking about her wife, and everyone was like, oh, lesbian grandma? Oh my god. Like they
Yeah,
were
like,
all excited.
It's not
They're
very
so
often
excited.
that you see
And I was
that
like, yeah, I
kind of
guess you
character.
don't see like an
Yeah.
elderly like lesbian or something
Yeah.
as very often. You don't see
Mm.
queer representation for older people, and
Mhm.
just I think queer people being able to see themselves
In the future,
grow older
basically.
and
Yeah.
have a
That's
life
so
beyond
important.
just what I think a lot of representation gets down to for queer people is just like youth and adolescence
Yeah. Or
and
tragedy.
or just dying.
Yeah, that's a terrible trope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I see all three of you guys in a room. What is it like to work collectively? You all have different roles. I believe you mentioned your roles before we started recording, so if you can maybe reiterate that. How do you guys work? Do you like work remote or you come into the office? How do you utilize and work with your community when developing games? I know that was like a lot of questions thrown at once, but it's just how you all work together.
Yeah. So we all three share a lot of hats, but primarily I'm like the character designer and the marketing lead, and I do some writing and design as well, like game design.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm Sloan, and I do the music for the game, the audio. I'm the lead writer on Psychroma, and I do the background art as
Mhm.
well.
I'm Titus. I am the lead programmer, and I also sort of lead game design. And yeah, like Lindsay said, though, we all sort of, it's a very collective process. It's a very flat structure to our company. And so everybody has the ability to kind of raise concerns or
Contribute.
to contribute
Yeah.
in every kind of aspect of the game. And yeah, so
Yeah, we actually do work mostly remote.
Yeah.
But you caught us today on a Monday,
Which is when we
which
come
is
in together.
yeah,
do
we
our
come in
meetings.
together and do a in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we like to have a meeting where we just are able to talk game design or writing something creative, and then we have our more kind of business oriented or technical meetings
planning
Yeah.
on Wednesdays.
remote.
just do that
Yeah.
remote. But like, yeah, it's so important, I
Mhm.
think, to be able to see each other and to just feed off each other's energy when we're working on the kind of creative aspects of the project. We used to try to fit other things into our Monday meeting, but we've kind of lately decided to just focus on the kind of fun creative stuff while we're together
Mhm.
and do the other stuff
Mhm.
remote, the kind of more
Nice.
Technical
Well, yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I'm pulling up, examples of like the types of gameplay that's in Psychroma. So we have time jump. So you have a memory card system, so you can go through time in accessing stored memories and therefore unlocking other parts of the house. Another part is a Ouija system, so therefore you can communicate with the dead. You can even put in keywords I see here. You could perform surgeries, stabilize injured victims, and that's all linked to technology, right? The cyberpunk aspect of things. And then lastly, cyber possession, where you possess the bodies of digital ghosts of the past, and that also has to do with recovering memories and solving puzzles. So that for me is a lot of like you build off of a foundation of some I don't want to call it standard gameplay mechanics, but then you kind of twist it into your own themes and stories, and I find it pretty outstanding and unique. Would you say came first? Was it gameplay or stories and character, or do they kind of grow together?
I think we went story first.
Yeah. For this one.
But we had to go through a lot of rewrites over time. We actually got like mentorship, like feedback from Ubisoft's like indie series program. They have a program where they like mentor small studios and like give out grants and stuff. So we ended up getting like the top prize grant last year, and they like helped us to develop the outline narrative bible basically for
Yeah.
Psychroma. So that was good.
That was really helpful.
It was a
Cool.
really illuminating process where we're like, oh, we don't really have anything to and so we basically had to like write the whole game just
Yeah.
to prepare.
Also, maybe
material.
to touch on the community thing, we also
Mhm.
have great support from Gamma Space,
Yeah,
who is
for
kind of
sure.
our publisher, but started out as sort of like a
Another
mentorship
acceleration.
accelerator program,
Mhm.
and they kind of helped us to navigate, I guess, taking on the challenge of a new game with different mechanics and
Mhm.
a wider kind of world. And they've been extremely helpful. And also
Mhm.
through the funding of Weird Ghosts,
Yeah.
that really helped us to
Mhm.
uh,
To meet
to
new
meet that
people
and
and-
to also find a community, because it felt like for the longest time we were kind of just the three of us
Mhm.
against the world. So
Yeah.
it's been great to find other people that are have the same kind of, I guess, ideals and goals as us. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
been fantastic.
Mhm.
Excellent. Before I covered some news highlights that you guys have run into. Sorry, my son's making a little uh
It's
he's just
adorable.
popping in.
Mhm.
I'm trying to teach him the ways of playing good video games that aren't just Roblox and Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I do like to ask, yes, Mario Maker too. Okay. Uh, I like to ask this because I'm a big physical collector. Pat, I would say you are pretty much a physical collector too, right?
With the Nintendo system, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, I've heard
With
of it.
everything else, for the most part, it's discs are digital downloads, or,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
or
Yeah.
like CD download. They have the key on the disc, basically,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
and
Mhm.
everything's done through patches. So
Mm,
that's
true.
my
Okay.
take on the physical versus digital. But
Mhm.
if there's something that does truly like wow me, especially in the indie series, I will definitely find myself getting a physical copy.
Mhm.
So that's where I say it's a fun question, right? Like I'm not gonna poke and prod to see what your plans are, but if you had unlimited budget or access to create a physical, maybe perhaps a collector's or deluxe edition for Psychroma, what would be like, what would you love to put together or curate for fans or for your
Mhm.
community for
So
Psychroma?
yeah, I definitely want like a digital disc version with like the case and everything. I'd also like
Mhm.
to make an L. Our cat's visiting us. I'd like to make a
Yay, cats!
LP. It's one of them.
Nice.
Yeah, like an LP of our soundtrack would be
Yeah.
cool.
I
I
think-
love LP. I collect
Mhm.
LPs, so yeah.
We actually have an LP for the Raptor Boy.
It's not for the full soundtrack. That was like a
It
was a
part
compilation.
of a right.
Yeah,
Correct, yeah.
yeah,
And an art book, I think. Too.
yeah. Art
Yeah.
books. I love art books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think that would be a wonderful addition, an art book for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All
I
right.
think Citizen Sleeper really knocked it out of the
Oh,
park in
yeah.
terms of their physical
Mm-hmm. They had like a board
edition.
game.
Yeah, they had the whole rule set
Ridiculous.
and everything. So,
Yeah.
if we could do half of what they did, that
Yeah.
would be incredible, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this would like not be realistic because but for like fun, like I think to have items related to the game, like with
Mhm.
Glory, they're giving out. So it's not you can't buy it, but it's a contest. They're giving out like 10 or 8 skateboards, like Gory themed skateboards, because the cat is on a hoverboard in the game. I think it would be so cool if there was a Psychroma themed Ouija board.
Yeah. Well,
Something
talk-
cool like that.
That would be
I
incredible.
was thinking of something like a tarot deck too. Like I
Yeah,
want to
that
design my tarot deck so hard.
Yeah,
would be
there's a lot of cool things.
Yeah,
to do,
yeah.
but yeah.
Mm,
For some
One
reason,
day.
I don't know.
when I think of the Psychroma, I think of almost a postcard. You remember those like it's those cards where if you like turn in one direction, it changes like the
Oh,
image.
Yeah, the
I could
holographic.
almost see something like that.
that'd be
You know, for
Yeah,
like
that'd
That'd
be
be great.
cool.
that'd
we
be
have
great
this
for the
sort
box
of
art.
Yeah.
like the I guess the header on Steam is like all these people's faces,
Mhm.
and if you could turn it and it would change between
The faces.
the faces
Yeah.
as if you were doing the
Ooh.
cyber possession. That would
Yeah.
be really cool. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, that's a great idea.
There you go. See, we spoke it into existence. So we're gonna let that marinate out in the universe, and then I'll check in with you guys in a year, and hopefully we'll have some good merch. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you guys. All right. Well, I want to kind of start wrapping up this segment by highlighting some news that a publisher shared with me, which I think is fantastic. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna read the headline. Would love to get your thoughts or reactions to it. So the first was International Volunteer Project Queer Them All, and they chose you guys, Rocket Adrift, out of several games that were submitted. And when you were selected, you were rewarded with free localization in 20 languages, which is fantastic. And this was, of course, a promotion during Pride Month in June, because they believed that Psychroma would have a tremendous impact throughout the world.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was huge for us. Because like one of the main goals I wanted for Psychroma, like as soon as we started developing, was like localization, and it was always just like, how are we gonna get this done, and like, are we gonna have the budget for it, and how long after release are we gonna have to wait to do it? Because I know we won't have time to do it before release. But then, yeah, like someone in our community at Gamma Space shared this opportunity on the Slack channel, and it was just like a Google form through LinkedIn, and I was like, sure, what the hell, I'll apply. And and they got back like, hey, you were selected. I was like, what? Okay. So it was just so one of those things where it was like so lucky, like I wasn't even like really focused
Just
on it.
lucky, but you have a wonderful passion project turned reality, and there you go again with community support. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been following their progress on their Discord channel. And
Yeah.
it's been so interesting because one of the person that's sort of like our main liaison, Carolyn, has been kind of going back and forth, and she was like talking about how there was a struggle for some, or not really a struggle, but like an interesting challenge for some of the localizations to find a way to put Hayes's they them pronouns into the sort of more gendered kind of languages,
Yeah.
and that they thought that they had a really creative solution, and could we put like a little message at the front of the game once it's localized out there. And I was like, absolutely, it's just
Yeah.
incredible to hear like
That kind of sensitivity.
that kind of
Yeah.
sensitivity and like work that they put in to really bring this project into different languages has been really interesting, and like not even something that, you know, as a main English speaker you really think about.
No.
So it's been so cool to sort of see what they had to, you know, the kind of things that they had to the challenges they had to kind of meet in order to tell this story. And a lot of it was just coming back, like a lot of the things that we had to answer for them were just like these weird technology things that we created. And it's like, well, what is this called? Like, how are we supposed to
The
put
talk
this
to
thing
me.
into like
Yeah.
Portuguese or whatever,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been so cool. And, you know, just eternally grateful to Queer Them All. I think
Oh
it's
my
a
God.
super cool project, and we are so privileged to have chosen
Yeah,
us
for sure.
for this. So
Yeah, shout out to them. Hopefully we can, spread their word around, because like I always say, even though June is Pride Month, that doesn't mean we stop having Pride after June, right? So that's big, and I'm actually kind of very interested and blown away by the inner workings of how localization works, because you're right, like I kind of forget about it. I am not so fluent in Chinese anymore, but with mild knowledge of other languages, when I took Latin I know it's a dead language in high school, a little bit of Spanish, blah blah blah. They're very like some base words are just based off of a female or a male. And so it just doesn't dawn on me. Maybe I took it for granted that we have the ability to use they, them. Like, oh, how does that translate not just appropriately, but in, I don't know, the best way, you know? So I'm going to like do some more research on that. I think that's incredibly interesting.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
is.
So I find it so interesting. Yeah.
All right. And then another wonderful news tidbit here, BAFTA. We all know about BAFTA. Along with Out Making Games, made a Twitter thread or X thread celebrating the LGBTQIA plus characters in games during Pride Month. And your game was also highlighted in that list. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That was such a shock.
I just heard this from like a comedian. I think it was Henry that
It
was
was
like,
Henry.
Yeah.
"Hey, you BAFTA mentioned you," and I'm like, "What?
BAFTA?
BAFTA?
Yeah.
Is this the real BAFTA?" To like look for the blue check mark or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was incredible. So like honored to even just be mentioned.
Yeah, seriously.
Amongst other all these other
Amazing games,
queer games,
like some of my
and
favorite
queer
games
characters.
ever, like
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate and like like Stranger Things,
Yeah.
or not Stranger Things, Life
one
is
of
Strange.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, yeah. Close.
Yeah,
Must be
I was-
very validating though, right? Just to show like, wow, we did this hard work, it's being recognized.
Mhm.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We really put a lot of ourselves into this game. And to see just people recognizing that that's important and trying to get other people to pay attention, that's huge. 'Cause,
Mhm.
you know, that's
Sort of why we do this, right?
that's why we do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's perfect. As we kind of wrap things up, is there anything else that you'd like to share either about Psychroma during its infancy of release, or if there's any projects that you want to mention, which you don't have to. I know it's just kind of the interesting timing when we caught you for this interview. So whatever else you'd like to talk about or share or plug, this would be a great opportunity to do so.
Well, I guess the main thing is just go check out Psychroma on Steam
Mhm.
and give it a wish list if you are not ready to buy it right now. But yeah,
Yes, wish lists make a difference, and there is a demo.
Yes.
So try the demo at least.
it's still available.
Yeah.
Oh,
it may not
great.
be available for very long, so just to let you know.
Oh, okay. I'm clicking on
Yeah.
it.
Maybe jump on it if you. Yeah.
Yes. There you
We can
go.
also plug our podcast.
Yes,
We have
please do.
Virtual Play Cyberpunk Red podcast, where we switch off hosts every few seasons, and it's available on Spotify. It's called it's
Nope.
called Dark Future Dice, a Cyberpunk Red podcast. And right now we're just doing like a kind of mystery, intrigue, thriller type
Cyberpunk story and sort of grungy Atlantic City.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're interested in that too, go check that out.
Yeah, Dark Future Dice.
I just want to shout out the other person who has released a game under the Gamma Space Publishing. Our friend Daffodil has put out a game called Street Uni X, which is like a demake kind of old school Tony Hawk, but with unicycling. And it's very cool. So check that out if you're into that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's great. Great soundtrack, good vibes.
Yeah.
And there's just a real fun,
just so fun
game.
and addictive. Yeah.
Daffodil is just so cool too.
Yeah.
So,
They actually unicycle like they're pretty professional. So they're pretty amazing.
Nice.
Go check out their Instagram at the very least. We post Instagram videos of them just doing stunts on a unicycle.
Yeah.
Incredible.
To check all this stuff out, and I'll talk to Corey to make sure we can maybe put some of these, like your podcasts and stuff, in the podcast notes as well, or on YouTube and whatnot. So, yeah, thank you. So I'm just gonna reiterate it, like the bully that I am. Wish list or play this damn game, please. It's awesome. I know that's what I will be doing now that my my mental capacity has returned to almost normal. Sloan, Lindsay, Titus, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you take the time out of your Monday after a work day, later at night when you still got a work week ahead of you, to talk to us about Psychroma and the good work that you've been doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm always nervous about these things, and so it's so great that you are just two extremely cool people that are very chill and so this has been a real pleasure. Thanks so much.
Great. I'm definitely going to be keeping tabs on your team. I'm looking forward to your next project. Um, Anything else we could do to support you or anyone else in the community that you know that could use a boost? We at Boss Rush, especially Pat and I, we're huge indie lovers. We just, anyway, I'm going on my rant now. Speaking of rants, I do have to do a bit of housekeeping, so hang tight before we say our goodbyes. Ready,
But
Pat?
before you
I'm
do
gonna try.
that, Titus, I do want to say I really appreciate your name because it proves that I was correct this entire time for Final Fantasy X.
That's your favorite Final Fantasy.
It is because I just had to change one letter, and I was like, it's me. It was great.
That was awesome,
Anyways,
Pat.
yep.
Thank you.
Well,
right, here we
I mean,
go.
Square says it's officially Titus, but it's like, no, it's Titus.
It's tied,
Yep.
right? Like I never did Titus. Yeah.
That's my truth. Oh my goodness, my son's pulling out wires now. Okay. If you want to support the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network as the tier that's right for you, earning you perks such as early ad-free access to this and other podcasts, exclusive access to Spotlight interview access threads, voting rights on Video Game Boss Rush Book Club, and more. So that's patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. But as always, your listenership and your viewership is always enough for us. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe. If you listen to us on podcast services like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. And last but not least, please check out our merch on TeePublic, where we have over 50 designs to represent your favorite shows and more. As always, you could check out all of our content, reviews, and articles, and more on bossrush.net. Pat, I nearly had it, and then I got distracted.
Yeah, we saw the cat. It's the cat. Big fluffy black one.
Yeah, that's our other cat. Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
And with that, guys, have a wonderful night.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.